Hey everyone, it's Jax again from the Popcorn View podcast. Today's going to be for episode for Monday Night Raw recap from 5-5 or Cinco de Mayo. This episode started off pretty crazy, to be honest with you. You had Jey Uso coming to the ring, partying with the fans, yeeting up to the fans with his new main event chain going on. Looks like they actually also gave him a new title. Looks very polished. If not, they just did a good job cleaning it up. I will say you also had a segment there once he, did his little let's play it back or whatever. They played it a third time or whatever. You did have Paul Heyman's music play right before Jay started talking. Paul Heyman comes out almost like he was congratulating Jay, to be honest with you, giving Jay his props. But then he was kind of like playing mind games with Jay, like, you don't deserve to be champion. You don't deserve to have the title. Seth Rollins needs it, and Seth Rollins is going to take it from you. All you have to do is name the time, place, and date. And Jay pretty much was like, let's run this. But there was a segment, or part of that segment, you had Jay pretty much was telling Paul, like, I told Roman he shouldn't trust you. I told him that you was going to backstab him. And just like I said, you did exactly that. And Paul Heyman pretty much goes and says, I created the bloodline. I was the one for the last 5 years put this team together. I was the last one, or I was the one who ensured that Roman had that title for 5 years. Pretty much saying me, 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 me the entire segment, so much that his face was turning bloodshot red from saying me so much. Um, but he does pull on Jay's strings enough that Jay says, so what are you saying? Me and Seth Rollins, how about we do that tonight? So it was announced that the main event's going to be Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins. We'll talk about that more later. I'm shocked that this match is happening so early. Hopefully Jay doesn't lose. Because Seth Rollins at some point is going to be the champion. We definitely see that happening. Just don't hope that Jey Uso's title reign was short. I told everybody that I know it's going to be short. Just don't know how long, and hopefully it wasn't that short. Later on, you did see Paul Heyman kind of go to the back and talk to Seth Rollins, like, hey, just like you said, he took the bait. You did have a little section there. Then, Seth was like, well, I told you so, and kind of walks off. And then you see Paul Heyman talking to Braun Breaker, and Braun pretty much is kind of looking at him like, Seth versus Jay for the U.S. title, but he looked kind of like upset about it. And until Paul kind of got in his ear and was like, think about it, we'll be able to run this, with Seth Rollins as you world champion, we'll be able to run this. We'll be able to run this show here on Raw. And you kind of saw his eyes lit up, like, yeah, you're right. I'm gonna let you play it. So as of right now, they kind of can. They look like they can definitely control Braun Breaker. Don't know how long it's gonna last, but you can definitely see Paul Heyman at some point screwing over one of the two, Braun or Seth, at some point, and aligning himself with just the one of them. Don't know when, don't know what, why, or how, but I definitely see that happening. Also, we had a Becky Lynch segment, which pretty much she was just complaining the entire time. She was definitely just complaining, pretty much saying that Bailey and Lyra are garbage or recycling, which was kind of corny to me, calling someone recycling, but whatever. Um, Lyra came out, was pretty much saying, well, you're calling me recycling, but aren't you recycling? You're doing the same moves, you're doing the same gimmick, all that. Um, for a little while, they get into it, but at some point, like I've mentioned before, at Backlash, I definitely see Lyra losing, and then Bailey coming back and taking the title off of Becky, or Bailey might come back and help Lyra retain. Bailey's going to be in there somehow. Don't know what's going on with her. They did kind of like take her out. Becky took her out saying that she was injured. We'll see how that plays out. You did have a match with Io Sky and Roxanne Perez. It was actually a pretty good match. Good match for both of them. Showed Io, the current champion, doing her thing like always, jumping out of the sky, doing flips, all that. And when she gets up and goes like the crazy motion, really exciting to see. Roxana Perez, honestly, She was doing a lot of good selling. Definitely showed that she has like the facial expressions and the acting ability to look like those bumps actually hurt or hurt more than they should. Um, Decent match, honestly. It was a good match between the two of them, both of them going back and forth. Again, showing the champion strong, but also showing the WWE universe on who's next on deck to take over, possibly as a women's champion. Definitely see it happen down the future. Don't know when, but we'll see how it plays out. At the end, after the match, Roxana kind of shakes her hand and look kind of like, thank you for having this match with me, and kind of caught everybody off guard, caught me off guard, honestly, because she is the heel lately in this past few episodes of Raw. Um, she walks out of the ring. Out of nowhere, Julia attacks, Io Sky, and then they kind of pan back to Roxana Perez, and she's kind of laughing, kind of like gotcha type of the deal. They both go in there, beat her down, and Rhea Ripley comes out there, and I'm sorry, Rhea Ripley's actually out of town. She's in Australia, from what I've heard, so she wasn't there to help her out this time. She helped out last week. So she did help out last week, but this week, the two up and coming NXT stars did take out the champion. Definitely see a tag team going on at some point. Don't know when the tag team is going to happen with those two, Rhea and Io Sky versus Roxana Perez and Julia. So that's definitely going to happen, but we'll see. You did have Rusev versus Otis. It was actually a good match, to be honest with you, with having two big guys going at each other. Big E always says meat on me action. He likes seeing big guys go at each other. This is definitely that type of match. A lot better than the week before. You did have like Rusev pretty much squash Otis and Tozawa. So this time around, better outing from Otis. Wasn't sneak attacked. Otis did end up losing the match. And then after that, Rusev kind of his heelish ways was trying to beat down on Otis again. Tozawa comes in, rips his shirt off, like, "Come on, I'll take you." And Rusev kind of just looks at him like, "Yeah, whatever, man." He waits till Tozawa turns his back as he gets out of the ring, comes back and power bombs Tozawa onto Otis, and then once again put Otis is in kind of like whatever submission is called. I know in AEW used to be called Game Over, but not sure what they're calling it here. But puts him in his finish, or I would say submission again, and you see kind of Otis's face almost turning like a different color than his body. So definitely a good outing this time for Otis. Otis is still getting beat down. At one point, Otis was Money in the Bank. Not doing much with Otis now. Hopefully, he gets another push at some point. Rusev, not sure what they're gonna do with Rusev. Same thing with Aleister Black. Don't know what they're gonna do with these two guys. They came back. Rusev attacked the Alpha Academy. Aleister Black ended up attacking the Miz, so they're gonna have a feud there. They're having a feud here with Otis. Not sure what they have planned for them, but it did show both of them strong. I'm happy he didn't just squash Otis, because Otis is a pretty big guy. I don't think that's gonna actually happen, if that makes sense to anybody. Um, you did have Penta with JD. Trying to pretty much get back on each other from the previous weeks. Kept interrupting each other's matches. For a while, the Judgment Day was kind of screwing Penta over, almost costing the match a few times. But I will tell you guys, JD looks strong coming back from his injury. So nice to see JD back. Um, Definitely a good match. JD can sell his ass off as well. Definitely show those moves. Penta, always like him in the ring, always like his ring gear. He's even got those new like jean jackets he's coming in with. So nice to see his gear. His entrance, I think, is one of the best ones with the pyro behind him spinning. So I think that's one of the best intros they got as of now. Um, Good match all around, to be honest with you. Again, Judgment Day kept getting into it. At some point, the ref caught Finn, and you're out of here, kicked him out. And once that happened, you kind of saw like Chad Gable come up with his Vote for Pedro t-shirt again. I expected them to cost him the match, because I did mention in a previous episode I see Chad Gable wrestling with Penta at some point, even if it's with his mask persona, and then Rey Mysterio will come back eventually and kind of unmask him. Definitely see that still happening. Chad did get into the match. Penta did pull it off, but Chad did try to cost him the match there. So it had a lot of run-ins on that one match itself. You did have a match out of nowhere, Theory versus Sheamus. Sheamus was like a surprise entry or a surprise guest, if that makes sense, or surprise to show up. Waller apparently was supposed to have his singles match with Sheamus. When he found out who it was, he kind of tricked Theory into wrestling Waller. So that was kind of funny. You're like, yeah, man, I got a match for you, you know? And he's like, who is it? Oh, it's better if it's a surprise. And then when the music hits, he goes, "You son of a bitch!" Like, so Sheamus pretty much beats up on Waller. They used to have a big rivalry back in the day with the U.S. title. Um, Theory did lose the match there. Sheamus looked strong, but then throughout the match, Theory keeps looking at Waller like, "Why'd you do this to me? Why'd you set me up?" Pretty much saying, "I'm gonna get you back," type of deal. Um, you did have a issue with AJ Styles kind of approach Dom again in the clubhouse, and then he said that R-Truth told him that it was there. So you did have that there. AJ Styles pretty much calls him out saying that, "Hey, I want a shot," and leaves it at that. But when that happened, he kind of looks at Finn and was like, "What's up, man?" And Finn was like, "What's up?" Like they still acknowledge each other. Finn, like I said in the past, at some point he's gonna break off or they're gonna turn on him. So something's gonna happen there. After AJ leaves, he looks at him. He was like, "Man, I didn't think this was gonna be so difficult being a champion. Everybody coming after me." He was like, "Hey, Finn, you used to be cool with him. Go talk to him." And he was like, "What, you want me to take care of all your little stuff now that you champion?" He was like, "You know what? I'll take care of it." So something's gonna happen there. I did see Finn somewhere towards later the night. Finn was actually talking to Roxana Perez, so maybe they're gonna use her to get to AJ Styles, or Finn's gonna break off and start his own version or faction of the Judgment Day. I don't see why that's not possible. NWO had two different NWO Black and White, NWO Wolfpack Red and Black. So definitely see that they could have two sections of the Judgment Day and someone fighting for supremacy over the name. Can definitely see that happening. Um, AJ Styles did challenge Dom. I think they're gonna wrestle. If they do, is gonna be at Backlash. Could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking there. Or if they announced it, maybe I heard it somewhere, but we'll see. Um, you did have Gunther face to face with Pat McAfee. The crowd chanted to Gunther once he tried to talk, like you tapped out, you tapped out. So they kind of did like that what chant, but they just kept saying you tapped out, kind of making him stumble. Um, and Pat McAfee was like, "Yo, man, you're beatable." After what I seen what Sami Zayn did to you, and after I seen what Jay did to you, he was like, "You're beatable." He said, "This version of Gunther is soft." And then Gunther's face kind of like light bulb kind of like woke up. He was like, "I'm gonna pretty much." He said he gonna murder him. He's gonna rip his face off. He's gonna dismember him. Just pretty much, I'm gonna murder him. That's pretty much what he told Pat McAfee. Pat kind of didn't look scared. Again, he's saying that this version of Gunther isn't as scary as everybody say he is. But at some point, we are going to see that at Backlash. Still wish they had a bigger build up, but that wasn't the case. Then this match had about a 2, maybe 3 week build up, if anything. So I'm actually just surprised there wasn't more going on. Um, After that, I would say you had the match between Seth and Jay. Um, and Seth Rollins was pretty much toying with Jay. I would honestly say that they're kind of doing the same thing with Jay that did with Cody Rhodes because he is the face. They're kind of making him look weaker when he's wrestling, I guess, bigger guys, and that's what I'm seeing. I do want Jay to win. Um, I'm actually surprised, like I mentioned earlier in the video, that they have had Jay versus um, Seth Rollins so fast. I do see Seth taking the title from Jay at some point, but I just figured it'd be later down the line, maybe SummerSlam or more towards the end of the year. Um, but it did show that Jay is growing as a wrestler. Jay goes for a couple roll ups there, and then Seth is just looking crazy strong. At one point, Jay went to go hit Seth with a spear, and Seth, almost like the RK out of nowhere, hit him with the pedigree. Used his own momentum to hit him with the pedigree. Got a close two. They both actually back and forth got a close two for a while. You did see that Sami Zayn came out when he saw that Braun Breaker was getting into it, and he speared the shit out of Sammy and then kind of hid behind the stairs. And Jay goes out there, kind of goes talk to him, and boom, he spears Jay. Now, really close right there. Seth almost got another close 3. I think if I'm not mistaken, he got hit with the spear and then hit with the pedigree again. Jay jumps out. And then right before again, he makes Jay pretty much lose the match. Again, this was a decent match, but it was definitely showing that Jay is, I hate to say it, like less experience as a singles champion. So he's definitely got some time to build. Like I said, he's going to have to build some resumes. He's going to fight Logan Paul or wrestle Logan Paul at Backlash this weekend. But this was having a good match. Right before he beats Jay, like I mentioned, CM Punk's music hits. He comes to the ring, starts beating him down. And, you know, Jay didn't lose, but Jay didn't win either. Disqualification. Saved Jay, if anything, in my opinion. I kind of hate that they made Jay look weak in this match, to be honest with you. I just hope that he gets better. He looks better. I hope Jay, he looks more serious. Yeah, he was partying with the fans earlier, but when he's in the ring ready to go. Um, so again, Jay did win the match, or Seth, I would say CM Punk helped Jay win the match, or DQ'd, whatever it was. Um, but then yeah, you had apparently after the match and everything was all done and settled. I didn't see it on Netflix, but I'm being told it was out there. I saw a couple like videos about it as well. You had Logan Paul actually attack Jay after the match, kind of knocked him out again. And then he goes, "How you supposed to be a champion if you have a glass jaw?" He was like, "I've already knocked you out twice. Let's see what happens at Backlash." I wish they would have actually put that on the show. CM Punk helps Jay, and then boom, that happens. Because I personally didn't see it again. I just saw it on clips on Instagram and YouTube. But again, you're gonna see CM Punk saved Jay Uso, and then we're gonna see Logan Paul versus Jay at Backlash. Can't wait to see it. We'll see how this plays out, guys. Hoping Jay gets a couple more defenses before he actually drops the title, and I hope they just show him building himself into a strong singles champion. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great one.